I need you to read it how you plan on talking it. And
generational trauma. 2 words I used to show numerous reasoning for the crisis we see in this black community today. A black community where our drive to overcome oppression was so number one in our minds that the minuscule problems we still were facing were put to the side because we had bigger things to worry about. And those minuscule problems that were put to the side are now those same broadcasted problems that we see today. Worsening and worsening because we were told to focus on the bigger picture. We grew up hearing phrases like, "You think that's bad," or "when I was your age," and a big one, "after all I've done for you." We put ourselves into debt to our own people. Why? Because for generations, the world has changed and we seem to be fighting the same ongoing fight for decades. And because of it, we've neglected the humanity of our own people. We've neglected emotions, voices silenced for fear of being slandered, and those rejected for not being the best representation for the cause. I don't think half of you know what Claudette Colvin did as a 15-year-old girl. Months before our famous Miss Rosa Parks, this young girl told a white passenger on a bus, "No, I won't give up my seat because it's my constitutional right." 15 years old. You want to know why she isn't actually recognized like Rosa Parks? It's because she was a 15-year-old poor girl with a baby. She had a child as a teenager and lived in something we would call the ghetto. She wasn't the face of the movement like Rosa Parks was because she didn't fit the agenda we had for the cause at hand. Agenda. A plan for things to get done. And growing up, me and my brother's agenda for my grandmother was to be all doctors. Y'all all gonna be doctors one day. And of course she was right about that. But agenda. Future plans for someone or something that are going to only get done by the things we do now. As a community, I can say from the positive side, a lot of the agendas we have as progressive young black folks are to get to the top. The top. No true definition of what the top is, so we go off what we see and what we witness, what the top looks like and who's already made it there. See, as a progressive black young man with leaders and mentors here to guide us, we have positive direction. But for those with no positive direction, they can only go off what they see. They see people like Nino Brown making millions with his brothers and Ace Boogie running the city of Brooklyn. They don't understand the cost of what drugs have costed the black community. They just see the easy girls, money, flashy cars, and the status that come with it. And although these are movies, they're representations of real life scenarios that caused the major backsliding of the black community after years of grinding and building ourselves up. We're quick to blame the white man for our troubles, ceasing to realize we are a bigger threat to our society than they are. We have been systematically programmed to hate. When we are not supporting, we hate, and we do it passionately. We talk down on those we see are doing better than us or have something going for themselves. We're separating ourselves from each other day by day because we support violence on each other more than we support a brother who's trying to become a lawyer. 51.3% of crime is committed by African Americans, yet only 5% of African Americans make up the overall count of lawyers in the U.S. We eat ourselves alive from the inside, and here's why. Research indicates that higher rates of self-destructive behaviors include emotional eating, substance abuse, and interpersonal violence within black communities are largely rooted in the physiology, emotional, and physical toll of systematic racism, internalized trauma, and chronic economic inequality. These stressors create profound anxiety and hopelessness. Generational trauma. Self-destructive behavior when we're beat down, talked down upon, used, treated as if we're less than human, you tend to break down and you question your self-doubt. You question your doubt, your entire existence. And that may have been for the first couple of years. Think about 4 centuries of the same torment with no hope of escape, and the only thing growing with each generation is fear and hopelessness. We've kept those same feelings and our family expected them to just go away, not knowing that it follows, and without the proper treatment, it'll eat you alive from the inside. That's why we get told off. When we as people try to make things happen, we get too scared of letting another race control us again. We'd rather destroy ourselves eternally while benefiting nothing. Fear and emotions go unchecked because having emotions as a brown-skinned person is seen as weakness. When you're told to thug it out all your life, you can't talk to anybody because every time you do, you're met with not help, but more trauma. Because with black people, their trauma is more worse than the next person. Well, now your boiling point is taking over, and all that. Now when you're boiling over, you're taking all that out on the same people who rejected you in the first place, leaving a lasting circle of doom because you simply couldn't get help from your own people. Only reason it made it this far and got this bad is because parents thought they could teach bravery and standing up for your rights to their kids, while getting put in positions where you don't do what the white man says, you get killed. The man of the house being forced to submit while still trying to teach stand up. It doesn't work. And asking questions is out of the picture because who are you to question your elders? Now emotions boil, and we're systematically becoming programmed to hold it in. And we've taught our kids and generations to come thinking that was the solution, not knowing that simple forget about it will lead to greater separation this kind has ever seen. But for a moment, we just grasped what we had. Drive, power, unity. People with love under Jesus Christ. If we just grasp that we could have greater than what we already have. Strong, intelligent men leading us. When we escape the constructed wall of hate built around us and use our leverage to build each other up, we can get African Americans to walk the highest ranks of this nation. Get men like Barack Obama, Dr. Martin Luther King, and Freemason founder like Prince Hall. Barack Obama becoming our first ever African American president, backed by his black community, black men in higher positions. We get to experience the greatness of the first black American president of the United States. Dr. MLK, one of the greatest black activists to ever literally march for this nation, march for our people, being 3 presidents and being the turning point of our freedom and one-sided nation. With the unscared, unwavered, faith-abiding followers of all races and colors backing him, he was able to get this black community voting rights, our Civil Rights Law Act, and many things more. But by unity and one, we were able to achieve these things. And men like Prince Hall, an American abolitionist and leader in a free black community in Boston. He founded Prince Hall Freemasonry and lobbied for educational rights for African American children. The man responsible for the founding of the first Grand Lodge elected its Grand Master serving until 1807. A man to be known as one of the most influential black men of the 1700s. Being so influential that even long after his foundership was part of the reason why our first black president has so much support. His lineage is still here with millions of black Masons walking around the earth. Generational trauma. 2 words that oversee pain, passed down in silence, burdens forced on generations without consent, emotions hiding and buried being released as anger and defiance. These 2 words help us explore the start of us, but they do not define the future. We as a people have overcome oppression and bondage, and now we must overcome silence and neglect. There is something great that lies ahead, and I see a community strengthen its weakness while finding courage to seek for our weakness. No longer comparing pain, but understanding and healing off one another. We are no longer surviving, we are healing together. That's it. How long was that?
About 8:37. What's your time frame?
Above 8 under 10.
So
I really feel like, you from the top.
Talk, say something.
I really feel like I can take out like most of this first part and reconfigure it, because everything else was good. Like getting here, if I start with the generational trauma at this part, which really defines it, this defines the generational trauma and everything behind it. This part I can get into the mental health stuff and then fall into it, but I have to add, in this part he was talking about how like he was confused what I mean by just adding these dudes, and I was like, these are what positive that's when we have a community, which I say the stuff, everything really makes sense and connects. It's just like it makes you think, and it's not just it comes easy. So it's like I see the problem. You want it to be a connected thing. You don't want somebody thinking on this. You want it to be like no one to present it easily. So I feel that. go ahead.
What does any of that have to do with mental health?
This is all the reason why we are how we are.
But you don't say that. So if the focal point is mental health, I don't know that because you never say mental health. You say generational trauma. Now, if generational trauma was the topic, now we got something. But you have to say mental health. So you're trying to give a backstory
Without giving us
of how it could equate to mental health, but you're just pointing out some stuff. You're not saying how it all links to generational health. I mean, generational thing. Mental health. Generational trauma and the generations of from slavery on can equal to that. Generations of suck it up and grind, but I feel certain types of way and my feelings and my thoughts and emotions get invalidated, but I feel some type of way and it tarnishes my thought process, affects mental health in my own kids because, well, that's the generational tie. You said agenda. What does agenda have to do with...
He asked that too. The agenda part is us as black people, like young children, being told by elders, like, in order to be successful, like, you gotta be doctor, you gotta be at the highest rank. So starting out, that puts like pressure on us as a kid inwardly that we're working for this, and like that may not what we want to even do, but because the agenda is already set, which is like defined as the future is set ahead of something, like that's the other thing that comes with the problem.
Anything below the agenda, aka the bar, gotta say something like somebody set the bar, and if we don't make it to the bar, then it's a failure. And no one likes the feeling of failure. You stack too many failures upon something or perceived failures, then you have a damaged person. If someone says you suck so many times, you're going to start to believe that, to the point where if somebody comes with some positive, like, hey, this was all right, you're going to be like, man, you lying. Because I've been told for the same very thing that it sucked. It doesn't match this level, so it can't be good. That would be mental health damage. When you can't break your own self out of it because you've been told for years upon years, and they were told from years upon years that they wasn't going to be nothing. They going to stay in the hood. They finna stay in the projects on Section 8 and ain't no better. Because mentally they don't think that they can do it. But you got to tie it to mental health. You can't just say agenda and then just keep going. But you got to mention, it's like saying doctor is the epitome, but a garbage man is like considered the scum of the earth, not realizing garbage men make $50,000, $60,000. But there's a social norm that comes with it. All right. You said the chick with the pregnancy and she didn't have to look for it. How does that come with mental health?
It was how us as a people will break off each other and will self-destruct others if they don't fit what we already have socially set up. I mean, we'll kick each other to the side if it's not for the best look.
So you can't tell these long stories and not point that out, all right? You got to point that out and then have a storyline to actually fortify the point. You can't just glaze over it and be like, yeah, they ain't like it because of this. But now I'm thinking in my head, how does this equate to mental health? I don't know what else you said for the next 3 paragraphs because I'm like, why this chick that's before Rosa Parks got anything to do with mental health? And then I'm going to check out. So you got to be able to tie all of it together back to mental health. And so, let's say you got the diagram and you have mental health as the primary thing, and then over here on this one side, it's like this category, this column says agenda. This category says generational trauma. This category says what black people think of you in this one, but all of them come up to this.
I'm starting to realize how goofy y'all sounding.
Right.
This shit sound terrible. I'm talking about mental health and stuff. It's something totally different.
So now you hear why he says you're all over the place. Because we don't know.
What I'm talking about.
Right. If they got a bunch of questions at the end.
Not a good speech.
Right. So you gotta have to revamp your whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. I know what to do now.
And it looks like you're trying to put a positive conclusion for mental health by saying, okay, we've been tearing each other down, all this stuff, but now we got some examples of who we can follow. Barack Obama, Prince Hall, who else you said? MLK. But even then, I guess the top part would be Barack Obama to counteract the agenda, because we've always been doctors and lawyers and stuff. Well, we always was told that we couldn't be president. So there's a mental health status right there, is we can never be president, which means we're never going to be as good as this white man over here because we can't be president, but we see it. So it's unlocked. Mental chain unlocked. We can do something. Going into your history all the way back to Prince Hall and everything else. They truly don't fit that ending, because that's black history in a time where the struggle was at its peak. But Obama would be the one that can restart your brain. You're going to have to find ways to incorporate Prince Hall and MLK in it in regards to history, because in the end, let's say when MLK died, there was a lot of mourning in the world for black people, because they figured that they got mad simply because there was nobody that they felt could take his place. So their leader got killed and nobody else but, like, what are we gonna do? Oh my gosh! Like, they can't function on their own, even though he gave them the tools to do what they need to do. So their mental health was staying reliant on another person to get it done. He got taken out. They can't do anything. You have to find some different ways to get them going. You can mention them, but kind of keep it short.
Yeah, that's the only problem. I just realized the only problem was I was trying to get a lot of things in because of the time crunch. That's why I glazed over a lot of things. I tried to tack on to everything instead of being deep in like a specific part.
Now your presentation, because when it's an oratorical, it's about presentation. You cannot sound like you're reading. You got to have some pauses in between your sentences. You have to say every word correctly.
Ain't no stutter.
Right. Ain't no pausing, ain't no ums, ain't no finna, ain't a word, ain't a word, gonna. When you say a word that has a T in it, you gotta put the T in it. It can be titty. It can't be titty. You gotta have in your S's and your CEs. So you have to slow it down. Like, really slow it down. You know what I mean? Find some of these people, when they talk really slow. Especially when you're doing the step show. And the old ladies get up there and they say every single sentence with every single syllable. And you like, dang, why you talking so dang slow? Hurry up and get to the point. Well, they do that because of that. So, gotta take some time to think of it. All right. I'm gonna put this on YouTube and send it to you. I want you to listen to yourself, see how you sound. Be prepared for it.
Sure.
This is exactly 20 minutes.
I finished selling this yesterday.
So
I finished selling this today.